Welcome to episode 2, Authentic Conversations. I'm here with Dr. Christopher Warden, Doc Warden. Today's episode is titled Embodying Health and Performance, and the connection here to Doc Warden, Christopher, I'll refer to him from here on out as Christopher because we have a great history. Christopher and I share a great story. So he's here to talk more about his creation, embodying health and performance, his personal experiences, his experiences as a holistic life coach as well, because Authentic Conversations, we're diving deeper into holistic health, mind, body, and spirit. And I joked with Maria as well, Christopher, like about me playing around with different voices, like radio voices and like that experience. So I'm going to pass it right over to Christopher. And Christopher, if you want to start just by like sharing more about our connection, like you tell our story first. When did we meet? Who did, why are they here today? That would be fun. So I'm passing the baton. We're aiming for 20 minutes for this as well. So giddy up. Let's
That's
go.
right. We're trying to be succinct, which is not something we necessarily do on a regular basis.
Because we have a lot to share. Sharing
Yeah,
is
yeah.
caring.
Thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to talk with you. It's always great to speak. We do it nonchalantly. Lately, again, we're back on like a weekly thing, but thanks for this opportunity to share with you.
This is our second attempt. First
Yeah,
attempt, no audio. Number 2 was rehearsal, dress rehearsal.
yeah. Um, we have it's a cool story in that we kind of satellited around each other, never having met, never really talking directly outside the occasional fake Facebook text. We took a lot of similar classes, but we'd studied on Dax Moy and just different people around the world. So we knew of each other through these groups that we'd be in with classes, never really having direct conversation, but always seemed to just have nice things to say to each other, feeling our energy or whatnot. I don't know if I would articulate it that way, back then. But then 2016 is when our relationship jumped to another level because somehow I think you were
Tamara
talking.
and Sarah
Well,
got connected, didn't they?
there
There
was
was
there was that. Yeah,
homeschool. We were trying to do
yeah,
homeschool with Nana. So we were inquiring. Tamara and Sarah had crossed paths as well, and then
yeah.
started it going in a certain way, wasn't it? Which is fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. And then there was we were with Will, and you actually were a reference for me because you had been working with Will for a little bit. He started that group, the Chung Fu group, and you were my reference to access that. And
We connected a lot before that on the phone, you and I.
yeah, so we basically, though, we went through that with Will. I think you were with that a little bit longer than I was, about a year and a half though, for sure. And then the relationship's just gone from there.
That time before is where we really went deep, and it was like we caught up on all of these crossings that were only like spirit was left behind, energy was left behind. And when we were really connecting on the phone, like we went very deep very fast before we went into any other group, which is I think what has definitely brought us back to where we are at now, and even our connection prior to this, right? Like a couple
Yeah.
during COVID,
Well, it's
in
crazy
that
when you
time
think about
period.
it because that we've basically on and off been in each other's lives since probably 2009.
Forever, infinity,
Yeah.
Christopher. But I do feel that spiritual connection to you as well. Like I'm a big believer of that like we're connecting, we've connected before. That's why it's easy for us to like go deep with each other, and also forgive each other for whatever like miscommunication, and come back and continue the journey. So it's great
Yeah.
having you here, man, for sure. So if you could share, we could talk about our stories for a long time. Once again, like I'm trying to keep us on track,
Yeah.
and especially getting you speaking more about what you've created with Embody Health and Performance. So we want to keep this theme of holistic health within like mind, body, spirit. Within Embody, it's physical and mental. Like you're helping people on deeper levels there. So can you dive deeper into using the terminology like embody health and performance, but embody mental health what does it mean to embody mental health and mental performance? So if you can share, like, starting once again personal for you, and then like why you chose that, how you came to health and performance, but specifically how it connects to mental, because it did come from your mind anyway, right? Like there's so many mental connections. And then how you've shared that, why you're sharing, like how it's coming through you to be able to help people in that same sphere. So starting with mental, and then we'll connect it to the physical, and then we'll
Sure.
speak on another level, for a more personal level, for the spiritual, since you're
Sure.
not doing that for a business necessarily, like it's your own personal connection.
Sure. Keep this as succinct as possible. I would say it's mental in that, and this is all upon reflection and there's constant refinement. So we always give that caveat when we're speaking, is that there's room for growth. In 2 days, I might say what I said yesterday or 2 days ago was complete and utter bollocks.
But the
I'd
reason is experience, because in that time something has shifted your awareness through experience. So you're like,
right.
this is deeper.
Right. Well, so I mean, I'll rewind a little bit. I mean, so Embody is this current creation that I'm working on, and I'd say it's a culmination of where I'm at to date, starting all the way back when I was younger. So I thought I was going to be a medical doctor when I was young. I had degrees in microbiology and immunology. I had been accepted to a PhD program in molecular pathobiology, which I turned down because I felt like I was using, for lack of a better way to say it, my intellect and not my social skills. And I just felt like there was something more to pursue, partially because I also think I was pursuing the titles and not believing in myself enough. So I, kind of had this revelation of I want to be on my deathbed, not wondering what would have happened if. And so yeah, that was a big point in my life where it was like, I'm
How
going
old were
to,
you then? Sorry.
this has been 1997 or 1998, so 25, 26.
Yeah.
And and for reference, I'll be 52 in a couple of weeks. Uh,
Woo!
so yeah, I that was probably one of the first times I tangibly felt I am trying to do for me and not based on what I want others to perceive of me, and have faith and belief in myself, and not rely on title to give me
Yeah.
credibility.
Going into
Oh,
your own mind, right? To be able to
right, right,
have awareness of that, first of all,
right,
right? That
right.
you want to choose this path for this reason.
Right. So, without going into all of the stories, I basically went on this journey of trying all these things I always had interest in. I mean, I bartended, I was a bouncer for a while, I dealt blackjack at a casino. I mean, I was doing all these things and I wanted to try a
Cool.
lot of,
Cool.
and it brought me back
You have the
potentially,
cheekbones.
right? So someone beg to differ. Um, so,
They
so,
wouldn't hire you.
I basically, looking back again, it was this constant state of refinement. And essentially, I think what it came down to is I was sensitive to what weak links were and what I wanted to make better. And I also was sensitive to what I had interested in and I wanted to pursue. And so when I started coaching in the year 2000s, when I got my first, certified personal trainer certificate.
It felt
uh,
great to get that, didn't it? The
Oh,
accomplishment.
it did. The NSCA CPT followed by the CSCS, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but yeah, so I started coaching, had my first aha moment of going, I was going to be a doctor, so this is going to be easy. And then standing over somebody doing a lap pull down, going, I hope they don't kill themselves. I have no idea what I'm doing, this type of thing.
Yeah. How
You
do
know, it's
I how do I help them through this
how do I,
hour with me?
what do I do if they drop the weight? Um,
Yeah.
so, basically an evolution of coaching. And I ended up getting a master's degree
Started
in
with physical, right? Like you're
Yep.
primarily focusing on the physical at that point.
Primarily physical. And then it went to I couldn't answer a question about nutrition and I was frustrated and I got turned on to Weston Price and traditional practices and stuff that's common sense, but somehow is not so common. And, went down that nutrition rabbit hole for about 7 years. And then you realize in the coaching how much psychology is involved. I'm getting a master's degree in sports psychology because I wanted to up my game there. And then there's all the stuff with working with people with pain and so on. So there's a constant evolution
Yeah, but
of,
you've educated yourself a lot. You
for
have a
sure,
lot of education just because you
sure,
love it as well, right? Like
right,
you've gone a lot of different routes, so you can a lot of different people that are coming to you, right? Isn't that
sure,
the impetus of why you want to learn? Because if someone comes to you with a question, you want to be there to help, not be like, oh,
All right.
sorry.
Right. Right. Well, and that's why I ended up playing the game and going and getting the doctorate and all of that, with a token will get me on a subway type of thing. But it's
Is
been
it?
great because of the people that you buy the
Only the
token.
green line.
So, basically through what I just shared, you probably get the idea that it's this constant state of evolution and refinement and getting better at listening and appreciating the teachers and the friends I've had that have helped me get out of my own way, called me out of my stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and
Attitude of
then me
gratitude.
learning to be open to listening better. And then having the courage of my conviction to stick with what I feel called to do. So what Embody is, I bought a physical therapy practice in this beautiful building that housed like a holistic East meets West type of philosophy, which I thought was providential in the first place. I bought the practice, and as it's evolved, I decided to change the name, and it's Embody Health and Performance. And the gist of it is every time I say the name of my business, it reminds me to practice what I preach. So I hear a lot of you, or I hear a lot of Will or other teachers that would say, they'll talk about authenticity and knowing your center, knowing your boundaries, having the courage of conviction, again, things like that. So the name is simply embodiment of that idea. And I want to be able to bring that to others and, help people recognize that I'm merely a mirror in their life. And I appreciate their trust in allowing me to listen and reflect back to them, but helping people to embody their best lives as well is what it comes down to. And what I think is beautiful about it is that it's taken my name out of any practice so people appreciate the vision I'm creating. When it's my time to pass on the torch, hopefully somebody will want to take it and run with it, and it will live on that way. And my name doesn't have to have anything to do with it outside of maybe it's a small chapter in the story. But again, this
But
process.
even before you were branded, it was like that with your clients, right? Like your legacy lives on through them and what you've shared and how deeply you connected with them. And you have a lot of that. If you go to Christopher's website, we're going to share all of Christopher's information as well, because he does do remote coaching support. So we're going to share all that. But his testimonials are great. Like you read about the connection that you created with the people as well. And then that goes beyond, because it could be something that they pass on to someone else, and then it becomes phone game, and you don't know like who started it necessarily, but there's still this great deeper connection of health, of love, of embodiment, like all of this, like we are all connected, like the spirit is there.
That
But it's
stuff
great
makes
that
me
you've
cry because
summed it up. It's difficult to try to sum it up for yourself. Like, how do I put all of what I feel, all of me within this to be able to share?
yeah. Well, but
But I
you've
think
done
you've done a great job. Like all the language speaks to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay,
As
so
they
we got
say,
about 4 or 5
just
minutes.
want
I
to know.
know. But it's great. Like this is part of it. Christopher, once again, like I want to bring him back for like deeper dives into certain areas as well, because he's got a lot to share. We have a lot to connect with and dive deeper into. So if people are watching this and there's something that he said that resonates, that you feel, and you want us to go deeper, like to speak on it, like let us know. We're open for all kinds of ideas on how to connect more and share more together. So segueing into spirit for holistic health. So what is your connection to spirit? And when we talk about spiritual health, like what is that? What is your spiritual health? What to you does it mean to be healthy spiritually?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Once again, like your personal story is great, is testament to that.
I mean, if we're going to get into, how spirituality can be tied to religion. So I was raised in a Catholic household. I spent a lot of my life from my 20s until the last couple of years going more of the spiritual, not religious route. Was really just trying to understand, feel the truth, if you will. In the last year and a half, through the grace of people that have come to my life, clients and whatnot, I've actually felt called to go back to the Catholic Church. And, you know, that to me is a great story which can capture and answer your question about what spirituality means to me and how I think
It's
it,
that spiritual journey away from the church that has helped you reconnect in a whole different way, right?
well, away from the church and then to live in a Muslim country for 7.5 years and
Yeah.
to be exposed to different Eastern philosophies and basically being able to go as deeply as I have into the doctrine of the Catholic Church, something that I'd never done, despite mother telling me to read my Bible when I was a child and never doing it. But
We never did anything they
we
said, did we?
never did it. And yeah. But to be able to listen to the message and hear all of the truth as it's been described by multiple avenues.
So what is the truth?
Oh geez. Love, light.
We got 2 minutes though.
All of the truth captured. I think to me, when you are in tune with the spiritual, I mean, it's a matter of becoming a better listener, right? And being comfortable in stillness or in the noise, hearing your calling to be your best self in the moment, being in the moment as best you can. Um, Recognizing that we're not stopping the mind in a state of presence, we're becoming better at feeling and resonating with what the mind is picking up from the ether, and then consolidating into thought, which becomes action. So yeah, spirituality to me is more a function of just being in tune to the stillness within, which I think we all might discuss is, what we would call God.
But we have to give ourselves the time and the space to do that in the first place,
Right.
right?
Right.
Whether it's in prayer, whether it's going somewhere, whether it's meeting someone else and speaking about it, like expressing curiosity, like having a safe space to be able to explore that and not be like, hey,
Yeah.
to hell with you.
Yeah. Well, recognizing that, and the fun part too, and this is where we can go down serious rabbit holes, is how do you access that? It can be in multiple ways. And I know in the physical culture, one thing I started expressing it this way in the last year was, movement and breath are the gateway and the pathway to that.
So great
Uh,
action steps, right? For people
yeah.
listening, like these are actionable steps. And it's very broad, but movement and breath is movement in a different way, right? And it's my number one recommendation. Start breathing more actively with awareness and consciousness. Box breathing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's something that we share as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have all these great connections. We got 10 minutes before Christopher's in his next appointment, so we're hugging this at this moment. I think like it's a good way to close. And once again, like there's lots to speak about, and just hearing more of your story is great, right? Like you are a coach, you are a leader, you're trying to lead by example as well. Embody everything that you're learning and putting it into practice through experience, and then being like, hey, I'm here to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And the more someone shares, the more that you can help.
How would you define spirituality?
Connection to the all that is all.
Mm-hmm.
That we are all one. To me, that is we are in the mind of God. Unfathomable. Quran's got 90 plus names. Like we cannot even think about that. Like my background, just Earth, but then keep zooming out and zooming out and zooming out and zooming out, or shrinking down and shrinking down. Yeah. This is the principle of correspondence, of connection, of that everything is connected, and that God is all that is all. Like that's my connection to spirituality. So especially in the reality in my material world, like this kind of stuff, like I interact with things, especially people, like on this level of, it's unconditional love for me as well. Like to me, that is unconditional love. And our journey is to have this human experience where that's the challenge. Can you love this person unconditionally? What are your stories? What did you come up from? Oh, we have Jesus, we have Buddha, we have these examples, these stories that can teach us and think about and keep in our mind to be able to be like, ooh, nobody said it was going to be easy. And that's the beauty of it. Like, that's the growth, to be able to know more, to experience God in all of our experiences. And to me, that is the most comforting thing that's gotten me through like my darkest times. That is the light in the darkness. And then it becomes a full moon, and then I can see in the dark. Like, what am I afraid of? If I think on that, if I think just Old Testament, like punishing God, I don't feel good. And I'll
Mhm.
hide in my mind and like mess with my mind. But if it's like so encompassing that I can't even fathom it, that means it's just ever expanding.
You what you just shared helped me remember recently a gentleman was talking and he was saying, we always hear if we just lived according to the way God wants us to live, everything would be so easy.
So easy. Yeah.
But then the paradox, of course, is when we live in the way that the Creator called us to live, it's incredibly hard. The Old Testament God being angry. A couple of episodes ago, Father Mike Schmitz he's a pastor in Duluth at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and obviously has done what he's done. He was speaking specifically to that, and it was something I didn't understand at first, and the more I meditated on it, I was like, okay, I get it. It's like, because people can see it as wrathful God, and then the message is meant to be, one of them can be, he's actually not wrathful. All he wants is peace, but because of his divine love for us, we have free will. And so all of the evil that comes upon the world is a function, I mean, basically karma. And so,
It's
because I
their
remember,
minds. It's the mindset that's creating
oh,
that God that's
totally.
attacking them. But it's never
Well,
taught like that.
and this is the other thing is because I remember I got turned on to the Bible in a year because somebody that I worked with, Joanne, she's very devout and whatnot. And, I'd be talking to her about all the stuff that we talk about, and I'm thinking bigger level things. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm missing something, or I just want to go and do this. So I went to read the Bible. I'm like, it's an audio form. I can listen to it on a daily basis, da 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 da. And of course, I did the Bible in a year in about 7 months. But it's like,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm going to get this thing done before you. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it was an incredible experience. And I almost put it down like 30 days into it because it started getting into Moses leading them out of Egypt. And I started hearing the war, and then we're going to go to war and this is your promise. And I'm like, okay, here we are. We got the stories written by the victor type of thing. And so what is this? And so I almost put it down. I'm like, we're living in the midst of the chaos we're living in right now, and it's more of the same. There's nothing new under the sun. And then I was like, you know what? Read the freaking thing. And then, of course, it keeps unfolding. And the message basically was that of where if you look at it in I kind of look at it like, say you and I are about to wrestle each other. You have full belief in yourself, courage or conviction. I'm kind of going into it half-assed. Even if I have the same skill level as you, I might get my ass kicked because I am not aligned. I'm not congruent and whatnot. And you've got the
God is
courage.
with me.
God is with you. And so, what happened? You got people that are, worshiping Baal and sacrificing their children and all the stuff that was happening back then and still happens to this day, is the argument. And basically living a life of incongruency or materialism and power and greed and the stuff that we all can do, right? And you have other people that are living a more righteous life,
But the
truly,
leaders are the ones that are like divining from God and trying to share it and
yeah,
get everyone like connected to the message. Aaron
yeah,
and
yeah,
Moses, like Aaron was very magical. Like, it's a very magical time as well. So
yeah,
yeah, like if you try to take the bigger perspective of all the different groups and
yeah,
how it's connected, what is said, these kind of
yeah,
things.
totally. And basically love always wins, right? Type of thing. So
Yeah.
anyway, uh, it's just something you had said that, and I was like, that's really cool because
This
I
is
used
why a lot of
to
people
do
go
this,
away from religion, is because they've grown up in that,
right?
with that punishing them, you know?
And that's where, when you listen to a lot of stuff too, one of the phrases that hit me was we need to be careful to separate God from works of God, and everything is a work of God. And we are works of God, and we are also little g gods. But
But that's the most connecting thing if you really like just trust in that.
yeah,
Jesus, like one testament. The 10 go into that. If you
yeah,
love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love brother, sister, earth, everything in creation as you love yourself.
Mhm. Fear not.
Booyakasha. Yeah.
Fear not.
But put it into practice, baby, because devil gonna test you, whatever, like your mind or ego or
Totally.
all
Well,
of it.
that's why Embody became huge to me. And whatever. You could say authentic alpha, you can say,
We're
chung
saying
fu.
the same language is the
It's
important thing.
all the same thing. Basically, stop the bullshit. And you're human, so you're gonna have bullshit. But if you know you're BSing yourself, you
It's
make
when
it.
you're around other people that are suffering that,
Yeah,
and you sometimes you take it on in a certain way. It's like Christ-like in different ways, right? That we
right,
self-sacrifice to help other people, and then, well, is that really helping them? And oh, I need to live more authentically to
right.
energetically, like all these, like this kind of journey.